The crystal chandelier above me cost more than most people's cars, but I was scrubbing champagne stains off the marble floor beneath it like some kind of Cinderella reject. My name is Hayden, and 3 hours ago my mother-in-law handed me a black uniform and told me I'd be serving at tonight's charity gala. Not attending, serving. It'll be good for you, Victoria had said, her smile sharp as broken glass. A lesson in humility. You'll understand where you really belong in this family. I should have laughed, should have told her exactly where she could shove her lesson. Instead, I took the uniform and said nothing, because that's what I always do. That's what I've been doing for 3 years of marriage to her precious son, Luis. The Lane family mansion buzzed with pre-party chaos. Caterers rushed past me carrying silver trays. Florists adjusted arrangements that cost more than my old apartment's monthly rent. And somewhere upstairs, my husband was probably getting dressed without a care in the world. Hayden! Victoria's voice cut through the noise like nails on a chalkboard. The champagne flutes need to be polished again. I can see water spots. I looked at the glasses I'd already cleaned twice. They were perfect, but I picked up the cloth anyway. Of course, I said. Kendall, Louisa's sister, walked into the kitchen carrying her designer heels. She paused when she saw me hunched over the sink. This is really happening? She asked quietly. Apparently. She shifted uncomfortably. Look, I tried to talk to Mom about this. It's too much, but not enough to actually stop it. Kendall's face flushed. You know how she gets. Once she's made up her mind, save it. I dried another glass that didn't need drying. We both know you're not going to cross Victoria. None of you ever do. She left without another word. The thing is, I used to fight back. When I first married Luis, I had fire. I'd call out their little comments, their convenient memory lapses when it came to including me in family photos, their way of talking around me like I was furniture. But then there was Paisley to think about. My little sister, brilliant and broke, depending on me to keep her in college. And Luis, who'd pull me aside after every confrontation with those puppy dog eyes. Can't you just ignore them? He'd say. They'll come around eventually. You're making it harder on yourself. So I stopped fighting, started swallowing the insults with my dinner, smiled when Victoria introduced me as Louisa's wife to people I'd met a dozen times, pretended not to notice when they seated me at the kids' table during family gatherings. The kitchen door swung open and Luis appeared, looking like he'd stepped off a magazine cover in his custom tuxedo. He spotted me in the uniform and winced. Hey, babe. He kissed my cheek, quick and distracted. You okay with all this? I stared at him. Am I okay with being turned into the help at my own family's charity event? It's just for tonight. Mom thinks. I know what your mother thinks. He loosened his bow tie, already looking for an escape route from this conversation. Look, just play along, okay? For me, it'll be over before you know it. Play along, like this was all some harmless game instead of 3 years of systematic humiliation finally reaching its crescendo. Sure, I said. I'll play along. He smiled, relieved, and headed back upstairs to finish getting ready. Probably to meet up with his family and laugh about poor little Hayden, so grateful to be included that she'd wear a maid's costume to prove it. What none of them knew, what none of them had ever bothered to find out, was that the trust fund I'd inherited from my estranged father didn't just pay for Paisley's education. It had been quietly funding their entire lifestyle for years. The foundation, the house, the cars, the designer clothes Luis wore so casually, all of it, mine. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Corey's number. He was the foundation's legal counsel, and more importantly, he was the only person who knew the truth about where the Lane family money really came from. Have everything ready for tonight, I texted. His response came back immediately. You sure about this? I looked around the kitchen where I'd spent the last hour being treated like hired help in my own home. Thought about Louise upstairs, probably already forgetting this conversation. About Victoria, who was about to parade me around like a trophy of her own superiority. Absolutely. Tonight was going to be a lesson in humility, all right, just not for the person Victoria thought. The ballroom glittered like something out of a fairy tale, if fairy tales included humiliating your daughter-in-law for sport. I weaved through the crowd carrying a tray of champagne, the black uniform making me invisible to people who'd shaken my hand at dinner parties just months ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was serving drinks bought with my own money to people who wouldn't spit on me if I was on fire. "Excuse me, miss." A woman in diamonds grabbed a glass without looking at my face. "These are a bit warm." I recognized her voice immediately. Sarah Mitchell. We'd been in the same finance program at university. She'd borrowed my notes for 2 semesters. "I'll get you a fresh one," I said, keeping my voice steady. She glanced up, and for a split second I saw recognition flicker in her eyes. Then she looked away quickly, pretending she hadn't seen. "Thank you," she said, already turning back to her conversation about summer homes in the Hamptons. At the far end of the room, Victoria held court near the auction display, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her smile practiced and cold. She caught my eye and made a subtle gesture toward a group of men near the bar who were holding empty glasses. I walked over, tray extended. "Champagne? Well, well." The voice belonged to Austin, one of the foundation's board members. "Hayden, right? Louisa's wife?" Heat crept up my neck. "Yes." "Interesting career change." He chuckled, taking a glass. "From finance to this." His friends laughed. One of them, a guy I didn't recognize, leaned in conspiratorially. "What's the story here? Did she lose a bet?" "Something like that," Austin said, his eyes gleaming with malicious amusement. "The Lanes are very traditional about family roles." More laughter. I stood there holding the tray, my face burning, while they dissected my humiliation like it was dinner theater. "Hayden." Victoria appeared beside me, her hand gripping my elbow. "A word." She steered me toward a quiet corner, her nails digging into my arm. "You're not smiling enough," she hissed. "This is supposed to be a learning experience, not a pity party. People are starting to whisper. Maybe because you've turned your son's wife into a cocktail waitress at a charity event." Her eyes flashed. "You should be grateful we're including you at all. Do you have any idea how many strings I had to pull to make this family accept someone like you?" Someone like me. The phrase hung in the air between us like a slap. "Now go refill that tray and try to look like you're enjoying yourself." She glided away, leaving me standing there with my empty glasses and my burning cheeks. I was heading back to the kitchen when I heard Paisley's voice. "What the hell is this?" My sister stood in the service hallway, still in her college sweatshirt and jeans, staring at me in the uniform. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her eyes were blazing. "Paisley, what are you doing here?" "I came to surprise you. Drove 4 hours to see my sister at her fancy charity thing." She gestured at my outfit. "Instead, I find you dressed like—" "Keep your voice down." "Are you kidding me right now?" She stepped closer, and I could see she was shaking with anger. "They have you serving drinks at your own event?" "It's complicated." "No, it's not. It's sick." She grabbed my arm. "Come on, we're leaving." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because if I left now, Victoria would make Louise choose between his family and me, and I already knew how that would go. Because Paisley needed her tuition paid, and I needed to keep the peace to keep the money flowing. Because I'd spent 3 years building toward this moment, and I wasn't about to waste it. I just can't." Paisley stared at me like she didn't recognize me. "The Hayden I know would have burned this place down by now." "The Hayden you know didn't have responsibilities. Responsibilities? Her voice cracked. Is that what you call this? Hayden, they're destroying you. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Corey. Saw the news coverage starting. Local reporter here asking questions about foundation finances. You sure you want to do this? I looked at Paisley, then at the ballroom full of people who thought they were better than me, then at the message on my screen. Go home, I told my sister. Trust me on this one. Hayden, go home and watch the news tomorrow. She searched my face, and something she saw there made her step back. Okay, she said quietly, but if you need me, I know. She squeezed my hand and disappeared back down the hallway. I straightened my shoulders, picked up my tray, and walked back into the ballroom. Victoria was at the podium now, welcoming everyone to the annual Lane Foundation Gala, talking about family values and giving back to the community. My phone buzzed again, another text from Corey. Everything's in place, just say the word. I typed back, not yet. Let them finish digging their own grave first. The night was just getting started. The auction was in full swing when I witnessed Victoria's latest masterpiece of manipulation. I was refilling champagne glasses near the stage when I heard her announce the scholarship winner. This year's recipient of our underprivileged youth education grant is Cecilia Lane, Barry's niece. The crowd applauded politely, but I nearly dropped my tray. Cecilia was 17, drove a BMW to her private school, and had never been underprivileged a day in her life. I caught sight of the real application files earlier when I'd helped set up the display table. Maria Santos, a girl from the South Side whose essay about working 3 jobs to help her mom pay rent had made me tear up. She was supposed to win that scholarship. Cecilia has shown remarkable dedication to community service, Victoria continued as the teenager in her designer dress took the stage, looking embarrassed but not embarrassed enough to refuse the check. Bullshit, someone whispered behind me. I turned to see Kendall standing there, her face flushed with anger. Did you just... That scholarship was supposed to go to a kid who actually needs it, Kendall said quietly. I saw the applications. Cecilia wasn't even in the top 10. For the first time in 3 years, I saw something in my sister-in-law that looked like a conscience. Why don't you say something? I asked. Kendall's jaw tightened. Because I'm not stupid. You know what happens when someone crosses Mom. Yeah, I did. They got turned into cocktail waitresses at charity events. Here. Kendall took half the glasses from my tray. Let me help. We worked in silence for a few minutes, weaving through the crowd together. It was the first time any member of the Lane family had treated me like an actual person in months. This is wrong, Kendall said as we passed a group of donors discussing their tax write-offs. All of it. Tell me something I don't know. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it discreetly while Kendall distracted a grabby businessman who'd had too much champagne. Corey's text made my blood run cold. Found something. Victoria tried to adopt Paisley 12 years ago. Application was withdrawn suddenly. Did you know? I nearly dropped the tray for real this time. 12 years ago, Paisley would have been 7. I was 16, working 2 jobs to keep us both fed after our dad disappeared and our mom died. Victoria had wanted to adopt my baby sister? I typed back quickly. What happened? According to the files, someone intervened. Convinced social services the girl was better off staying with family. Want to guess who? Me. I'd fought tooth and nail to keep Paisley, sleeping on friends' couches, lying about my age to get better jobs, doing whatever it took to prove I could take care of her. Victoria had wanted to take my sister away from me, and I'd stopped her. No wonder she hated me. Hayden? Kendall was staring at me. You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. The pieces were falling into place now. Victoria's particular brand of cruelty toward me wasn't just about class or money. It was personal. I cost her something she wanted, and she'd been making me pay for it ever since. Ladies, Daphne appeared beside us, her smile predatory. Having fun playing dress-up, Hayden? Having a blast, I said flatly. You know, I was just talking to Louise about you. She sipped her champagne, savoring whatever bomb she was about to drop. He's worried about your attitude lately. Says you've been difficult. Kendall shifted uncomfortably beside me. Difficult how? I asked. Oh, you know, ungrateful, moody. He thinks maybe you don't appreciate everything this family has done for you. Daphne's eyes glittered with malice. He's wondering if maybe you married him for the wrong reasons. The words hit like a physical blow. Louise had been discussing our marriage with Daphne, questioning my motives. Where is my husband? I asked, my voice deadly calm. Last I saw, he was in Barry's study with some of the board members, probably talking business. She paused. Or wives? Kendall grabbed my arm as I started to move toward the door. Don't, she said quietly. Not here, not like this. Let go of me. Hayden, please, whatever you're thinking of doing. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I'd never seen before. Fear, not of me, but for me. You know what your family is, don't you? I said. She nodded slowly. And you know what they've done to me. Another nod. Then you know why I can't let this continue. I pulled free from her grip and headed toward the kitchen, my phone already in my hand. Corey, I texted, how fast can you get here? 20 minutes. Why? Because it's time to end this. Behind me, I could hear Victoria's voice over the microphone, thanking everyone for their generous donations to help deserving young people achieve their dreams. The irony was about to become a lot less funny. The kitchen was chaos, caterers rushing around, dishes clattering, steam rising from industrial ovens. I pushed through the swinging doors and nearly collided with Paisley. I thought I told you to go home. Yeah, well, I've never been good at following orders. She was still in her college clothes, looking completely out of place among the catering staff. I've been watching through the service window. This is insane, Hayden. They have you running around like the help, I know. So why are you still doing it? Before I could answer, Kingsley burst through the doors, his face red with alcohol and entitlement. There you are. He pointed at me with his champagne glass. Mom wants more of those little shrimp things, the ones with the fancy sauce. I'm not catering staff, I said evenly. Tonight you are. He grinned, clearly enjoying himself. Come on, sis. Family's got to stick together, right? Paisley stepped forward. Are you serious right now? Kingsley looked her up and down dismissively. And you are? Her sister, the one who's about to kick your ass if you don't back off. He laughed. Feisty. I like that. He turned back to me. Better keep your little sister on a leash, Hayden. Wouldn't want her causing a scene. I grabbed a fresh tray of appetizers from the counter. I'll get your shrimp. Hayden, no. Paisley caught my arm. Don't you dare. It's fine. It's not fine. None of this is fine. Her voice cracked. You're better than this. You're better than all of them. Kingsley was watching our exchange with amusement like we were performing for his entertainment. Actually, he said, I changed my mind about the shrimp. I think I want you to bring them to me personally, in the ballroom. Make a little announcement about how grateful you are to be part of the family. Go to hell, Paisley snapped. Excuse me? You heard me. Go to hell. Kingsley's face darkened. He stepped toward Paisley, but I moved between them. Don't, I said quietly. Or what? He was close enough that I could smell the alcohol on his breath. You'll tell Luis. He's the one who thought this whole thing was hilarious. The words hit like ice water. What? Oh, you didn't know? Kingsley's smile was cruel. This was his idea, originally. Well, him and Mom together. They thought you needed to learn your place. The tray slipped from my hands, but I caught it before it fell. You're lying. Am I? Ask him yourself. He's probably still in Dad's study, laughing about it with the guys. Paisley was staring at me, her face pale. Hayden, I have to go, I said, my voice sounding strange and distant. Where? To get some air. I pushed past Kingsley and out the back door into the garden. The cool night air hit my face, but it didn't help the burning in my chest. My phone buzzed. Corey. I'm in the parking lot. You ready for this? I stared at the message, my hands shaking slightly. Hayden? Paisley had followed me outside. Talk to me. He knew, I said. Luis knew what they were planning. He helped plan it. That bastard. 3 years, Paisley. 3 years I've been making excuses for him, telling myself he was just weak, that he loved me but couldn't stand up to his family. I laughed, but it came out bitter. He doesn't love me. He never did. So what are you going to do? I looked at my phone again, then at the mansion blazing with lights, full of people who thought they were untouchable. I'm going to show them exactly who they've been messing with. What does that mean? Remember when Dad died? The trust fund he left me? Yeah, you said it wasn't much. I lied. I typed a response to Corey. Come to the service entrance. Bring everything. Paisley's eyes widened. How much are we talking about? Enough to own this entire foundation. Enough to own them. Holy shit. The Lane family has been living off my money for 3 years, and they don't even know it. Every donation, every event, every dollar they've spent, it all comes from Dad's trust. And you never told them? I wanted to belong somewhere. I thought if I helped them, if I made myself useful, they'd eventually accept me. I shook my head. Stupid. Not stupid. Human. My phone buzzed again. I'm here. Back entrance. Come on, I said to Paisley. Time to meet the man who's about to help me burn this whole thing down. Are you sure about this? Once you do this, there's no going back. I thought about Luis laughing with his family about humiliating me, about Victoria stealing scholarships from kids who actually needed them, about 3 years of swallowing insults and pretending it didn't hurt. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. We walked back toward the house where the party was still in full swing, where people were still drinking champagne bought with my money and congratulating themselves on their generosity. They had no idea what was coming. Corey was waiting by the service entrance with a leather briefcase, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. You sure about this timing? He asked, glancing toward the ballroom where laughter and music spilled out into the night. There are reporters in there, local news, society pages. This is going to be everywhere by morning. Good, I said. I want witnesses. Paisley looked between us. What exactly is in that briefcase? Corey opened it, revealing stacks of legal documents. Proof that your sister owns the Lane Foundation, lock, stock, and barrel. How is that possible? Your father was smarter than anyone gave him credit for, Corey explained. He set up the trust to funnel money through shell companies. On paper, it looks like anonymous donations from various sources. In reality, it's all Hayden's inheritance. $73 million, I said quietly. That's what Dad left me, and I've been giving it away to people who treat me like garbage. Paisley whistled low. Jesus. The foundation's board doesn't know, Corey continued. They think they're managing donations from multiple benefactors. Only I know the truth because I helped set it up. Why? Paisley asked. Why hide it? I looked toward the ballroom where Victoria's voice carried over the crowd. thanking donors for their generous hearts. Because I wanted to belong, I thought if I helped them quietly, if I made their dreams possible, they'd love me for who I was, not what I had. Instead, they turned you into a servant, Paisley said. Tonight's the last night they get to do that. We walked back into the kitchen where the catering staff was preparing for the evening's final event, Barry's big speech about the foundation's mission. Through the service window, I could see him at the podium, adjusting his tie. Ladies and gentlemen, Barry's voice boomed through the sound system. Before we conclude this wonderful evening, I'd like to share some thoughts about family, gratitude, and knowing one's place in the world. Victoria appeared in the kitchen doorway, her eyes scanning until they found me. There you are. Come with me. Where? You're going to help with Barry's presentation, a little demonstration about humility and service. Kendall was behind her, looking sick. Mom, maybe we should— Quiet, Kendall. This is important. Victoria's smile was sharp as a blade. Hayden needs to understand what it means to be truly grateful for this family's generosity. She led me toward the ballroom, Corey and Paisley following at a distance. The crowd had gathered around the stage, champagne glasses in hand, ready for the evening's grand finale. Now, Barry continued, as I'd like to invite someone special to join me, someone who exemplifies the spirit of service and gratitude that makes our foundation possible. Victoria pushed me forward. Go on, up on stage. I climbed the steps in my black uniform, feeling hundreds of eyes on me. The spotlight was blinding, but I could make out faces in the crowd. People I'd known, people who'd pretended not to recognize me earlier. Barry put his arm around my shoulders, his grip tight enough to keep me in place. This is Hayden, my daughter-in-law. Tonight she volunteered to serve our guests, to remind us all that true nobility comes from service, not status. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some approving, others uncomfortable. Hayden, Barry continued, would you like to say a few words about what you've learned tonight? He held the microphone toward me, his eyes warning me to play along. I looked out at the crowd, at Victoria beaming with satisfaction, at Louise standing near the bar with Daphne, both of them smiling like this was the most natural thing in the world, at Kendall, who was shaking her head slightly, trying to warn me off, at Paisley, who was recording everything on her phone, at Corey, who nodded once and mouthed, now or never. Actually, I said, taking the microphone from Barry's surprised grip, I do have something to say. The crowd quieted, sensing a shift in the evening's energy. I've learned a lot tonight about family, about gratitude, about what happens when people mistake kindness for weakness. Victoria's smile faltered. I've learned that some people will take everything you give them and still demand more, that they'll humiliate you in public and expect you to thank them for the privilege. Barry tried to take the microphone back, but I stepped away from him. Most importantly, I've learned that sometimes the only way to teach people about consequences is to show them what happens when the money stops flowing. The crowd was completely silent now. Even the catering staff had stopped moving. You see, there's something the Lane family doesn't know about their foundation, something they should have asked before they decided to turn me into tonight's entertainment. Victoria was pushing through the crowd toward the stage, her face white with panic. I own it, I said into the microphone, my voice carrying clearly through the ballroom. All of it. Every dollar, every asset, every charitable program you've been bragging about tonight. The silence stretched for a heartbeat. Then chaos erupted. The ballroom exploded into noise, gasps, shouts, the sound of champagne glasses hitting the floor. Camera flashes went off as reporters pushed forward, sensing blood in the water. That's impossible! Victoria had reached the stage, her perfectly composed mask finally cracking. Barry, Get her off there. But Barry was frozen, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. $73 million. I continued into the microphone, my voice cutting through the chaos. That's how much my father left me when he died. That's how much I've been anonymously donating to keep this foundation running for the past 3 years. She's lying, Victoria shrieked. Security! Corey, I called out, would you mind sharing those documents with everyone? Corey stepped forward, briefcase open, pulling out papers and holding them up. Trust documentation, bank transfers, shell company records. It's all here. Every donation to the Lane Foundation since 2021 has come from Hayden's inheritance. A reporter pushed to the front. Ms. Lane, are you saying the family didn't know? They had no idea. They thought they were managing money from anonymous benefactors. Plural. I looked directly at Victoria, who was shaking with rage. Turns out it was just some very stupid benefactor who thought she could buy her way into a family that never wanted her. This is slander, Barry finally found his voice. We'll sue you for... For what? Telling the truth? I pulled out my phone and held it up. I have recordings of tonight's conversations. Your wife explaining how this humiliation was supposed to be a lesson in humility. Your son Kingsley telling me this was Luis's idea. The crowd turned toward Luis, who had gone pale. Daphne stepped away from him like he was radioactive. Hayden, please. Luis pushed through the crowd toward the stage. Let's talk about this privately. Privately? I laughed, and it echoed through the sound system. Like how you privately planned this whole thing with your mother? Like how you privately told Daphne I was ungrateful and difficult? I never said. You did. She told me. 20 minutes ago. I looked out at the crowd, many of whom were recording on their phones now. Ladies and gentlemen, I present my loving husband, who thought it would be hilarious to turn his wife into a waitress at a charity event. Luis's face crumpled. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Mom said it would be good for you, help you understand? Understand what? My place? I stepped closer to the edge of the stage. Well, let me help all of you understand something. As of right now, I'm withdrawing all funding from the Lane Foundation. The gasps were audible this time. Every program, every scholarship, every operating expense, it all stops. Tonight. You can't do that. Victoria was climbing onto the stage now, her designer dress hiked up, her hair coming loose. There are contracts, legal obligations. Actually, she can. Corey's voice carried across the room. The trust gives her complete discretionary control. She can withdraw funding at any time for any reason. But the scholarships, someone called out from the crowd, the youth programs. Don't worry, I said. The money's not disappearing. It's just going to organizations that actually help people instead of funding vanity projects and designer handbags. I pulled out a prepared list. Starting Monday, I'll be transferring funds to the City Food Bank, the Homeless Youth Coalition, and the Southside Education Initiative. You know, places that don't give scholarships to rich kids who already have everything. Cecilia, still wearing her tiara from the fake scholarship ceremony, burst into tears. This is insane! Victoria lunged for the microphone, but I stepped back. What's insane is that you people have been living off my money for 3 years while treating me like garbage. What's insane is that you thought I'd just take it forever. Kendall appeared at the foot of the stage. Hayden, wait! The crowd quieted, waiting to see which side she'd choose. You're right, she said, her voice shaking, about all of it. What we did tonight, what we've been doing to you, it's unforgivable. Victoria whirled on her daughter. Kendall, don't you dare. No, Mom, I'm done. Kendall looked up at me. I'm sorry. I should have stopped this years ago. Kendall. Victoria's voice was shrill with panic, but Kendall was already walking away, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. I looked out at the sea of faces, shocked, horrified, fascinated, at the reporters scribbling notes and recording everything, at Luis, who was crying now, reaching up toward the stage. Please, he said. Hayden, please, we can fix this. No, I said into the microphone, my voice steady and clear. We can't. Some things, once broken, can't be put back together. I set the microphone down on the podium and walked off the stage, leaving the Lane family to face the wreckage of their perfect evening. The last thing I heard before the ballroom doors closed behind me was Victoria screaming my name. The parking lot was chaos. Reporters chased after guests, cameras flashing, everyone shouting questions at once. I pushed through the crowd with Paisley and Corey flanking me like bodyguards. Hayden! Hayden! A woman with a microphone shoved it in my face. Channel 7 News. Can you comment on the allegations against the Lane Foundation? No comment, Corey said, steering me toward his car. Is it true you've been funding the foundation anonymously for years? Is your marriage over? What's next for the Lane family? I stopped walking. Paisley grabbed my arm. Don't, she warned. You've said enough. But I turned towards the cameras anyway. You want to know what's next? I said. What's next is that charity money is going to go to people who actually need it. Kids who work 3 jobs to help their families. Homeless shelters that don't care about photo ops. Food banks that feed people instead of egos. More flashes, more shouting. Behind me, I could hear the ballroom doors opening, voices spilling out into the night. Hayden! Louisa's voice cut through the noise. Wait! I didn't turn around. Please, we need to talk. No, we don't. But he caught up anyway, grabbing my shoulder. His bow tie was undone, his hair messy, his eyes red. You can't just destroy everything because you're angry. Watch me. This isn't just about us. There are people who depend on that foundation. Programs that help. Help who? I spun around to face him. Rich kids like Cecilia? Your mother's country club friends who need tax write-offs? That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, and it came out harsh. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when your family spent 3 years making me feel like I wasn't good enough? Was it fair when you helped plan tonight's little humiliation? His face crumpled. I didn't want to. Mom said it would be good for you, help you fit in better. By making me a servant at my own charity event? It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought you'd laugh it off, make a joke. You thought I'd laugh off being publicly humiliated? People were gathering around us now, phones out, recording everything. Louise seemed to realize we had an audience. Can we please do this somewhere private? Like how you privately discussed our marriage with Daphne? Like how you privately planned this whole thing with your mother? I never meant. You never mean anything, Louise. That's the problem. I stepped back, putting distance between us. You never mean to hurt me, but you do it anyway. You never mean to choose them over me, but you always do. That's not true. Name one time in 3 years when you stood up for me against your family. He opened his mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. My phone was buzzing constantly now, text after text. I glanced at the screen and saw messages from news outlets, old friends, people I hadn't heard from in years. Holy shit, is this real? From my college roommate. Saw the news. You're a legend. From a former coworker. Channel 9 wants an exclusive interview. Call me. From a number I didn't recognize. Hayden. Victoria's voice made me look up. She was standing at the edge of the crowd, her perfect composure completely shattered. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared, her dress wrinkled. You've destroyed us, she said. Are you happy now? Get in there. 30 years we've built this foundation. 30 years of helping people. Helping yourselves, you mean? We gave you everything. A home, a family, a place in society. You gave me nothing. I paid for everything. The house, the cars, the designer clothes, the fancy dinners, all of it came from my money. Victoria's face went white. That's impossible. Ask Corey, ask your accountant, ask anyone who's actually looked at the books instead of just spending the money. Barry appeared beside his wife, looking like he'd aged 10 years in the last hour. The board is in emergency session, he said quietly. They want answers. Then give them some. Tell them how you've been mismanaging funds for years. Tell them about the fake scholarship you gave Cecilia tonight. Tell them about the money you've been skimming for administrative costs. I have the records, Barry. All of them. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. What did you do? Victoria whispered. I called the state attorney general's office, told them they might want to look into the Lane Foundation's finances. I smiled. They seemed very interested. The sirens were louder now. Red and blue lights flashed between the trees lining the driveway. You called the police on us? Louise stared at me like he'd never seen me before. I called the authorities on a charity that's been misusing funds. There's a difference. But we're family. No, I said, as the first police car pulled into the parking lot. We're not. I walked away, leaving them standing there in the flashing lights, finally understanding that their perfect world was over, and I was just getting started. The moving truck pulled away from the Lane mansion as I loaded the last box into my car. Paisley sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through news articles on her phone. Listen to this headline, she said. Charity scandal rocks elite family. Foundation loses tax-exempt status. Good. And this one, anonymous donor revealed as victim of family abuse. I slammed the trunk shut. I wasn't abused. I was just stupid. Same thing sometimes. My phone rang. Corey. The asset freeze is complete, he said without preamble. The house, the cars, all the foundation accounts. The state's taken over the investigation. What about the real charities? First transfers went through this morning. The food bank got $500,000. The homeless shelter got $300,000. They're crying happy tears over there. Good. There's something else. Kendall wants to meet with you. I looked back at the mansion where crime scene tape still fluttered around the front entrance. Why? She says she has information you need to hear. I'm done with that family. She's not staying with them. She moved out yesterday, got her own apartment across town. I considered this. Where? Coffee shop on 5th Street, 1 hour. Kendall was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her hands wrapped around a mug like it was an anchor. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer armor. You came, she said as I sat down. Corey said you had information. I do. She pulled out a manila envelope. About Paisley. My blood went cold. What about her? The adoption thing, when she was 7. Kendall's hand shook as she opened the envelope. I found these in Mom's safe. She spread out documents across the table, official papers, court filings, social worker reports. Mom didn't just try to adopt Paisley, Kendall said quietly. She had it all arranged. The paperwork was filed. The home study was done. Everything. But it didn't happen. Because you fought it. You got a lawyer, proved you could take care of her. Kendall looked up at me. But that's not the whole story. She pulled out another document, a bank statement. Mom bribed the social worker, paid her $10,000 to recommend the adoption. She was going to take Paisley whether you wanted it or not. The coffee shop seemed to tilt around me. What? You weren't just fighting the system? You were fighting a rigged game. Kendall's voice was barely a whisper. When you won anyway, when you kept Paisley despite everything Mom threw at you, It broke something in her. She's hated you ever since." I stared at the bank statement, at Victoria's signature authorizing the bribe. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know. And because," she wiped her eyes, "because I can't be part of this family anymore. What we did to you, what we've been doing for years, it's sick." "Where will you go?" "I don't know. I've got some money saved, enough for a few months. I'll figure it out." I looked at this woman who'd been part of my torment for 3 years, who was now sitting across from me looking lost and broken. "The Southside Education Initiative needs a program coordinator," I said. "Someone who understands how these foundations work, how to avoid the mistakes your family made." Kendall's eyes widened. "You'd recommend me?" "I'd hire you myself, if you're serious about making amends." "I am. God, I am." My phone buzzed. A text from Luis. "Please call me. We need to talk." I deleted it without responding. "He's been trying to reach you?" Kendall asked. "Every day. Voicemails, texts, emails. He even showed up at my hotel yesterday." "What does he want?" "Forgiveness, a second chance. The usual bullshit." "Will you give it to him?" I thought about the man I'd married, the one who'd promised to love and protect me, who'd instead helped orchestrate my public humiliation. "Some things can't be fixed," I said. Kendall nodded. "I know." We sat in silence for a moment, two women who'd been on opposite sides of a war that nobody really won. "The job offer stands," I said, standing up. "Think about it." "I will. Thank you." I walked out into the afternoon sun, where Paisley was waiting by the car. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected." "So what now?" I looked around at the city I'd called home for 3 years, at the life I'd built and then burned down in a single night. Now we start over. Are you okay with that? I thought about Victoria, probably sitting in a lawyer's office right now, trying to figure out how to salvage her reputation. About Barry, whose foundation was being dismantled piece by piece. About Luis, who'd lost his wife and his family's fortune in one spectacular evening. About the food bank that would feed thousands of people with money that used to buy designer handbags. About the homeless shelter that would house families instead of funding charity galas. About kids like Maria Santos who'd get real scholarships instead of watching them go to rich kids who didn't need them. "Yeah," I said, getting into the car. "I'm okay with that." Paisley started the engine. "Where to?" "Somewhere they don't know our names yet." "Sounds perfect." As we drove away, I turned off my phone and let the world's chaos fade into the distance. For the first time in 3 years, the silence felt like freedom. Some stories are meant to end like this.